everybody. Welcome back to this week's podcast for the Multifamily Investing Podcast with your host, Charles Dobbins, the multifamily attorney, where we tell it like it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the real story about real estate investing. And today I have the Renegade. I have the man, and he's proudly wearing a Detroit Tigers hat. We're still trying to figure out why, but let me give you a little background on my guest, Jeremy. So, Jeremy Burgess from the Detroit area, the Michigan area. Southern Michigan, not Upper Peninsula. He was born in Coos Bay. Now, am I pronouncing Coos correctly?
You got that right. Nailed it. Coos Bay.
Okay, well, let me just tell you something. That I'm from New Hampshire, and you know how we pronounce that in New Hampshire?
No.
It's Coos. No, really. We have a county in New Hampshire spelled exactly the same way, and it's pronounced Coos County. So he was born and raised in Coos Bay, Oregon, but he considers himself a citizen of the world. He was a Navy brat, and he lived and was raised all over the world. And he then he joined the Navy right out of high school. Was a nuclear machinist mate on a fast attack submarine. The reason why he went on a submarine because he heard they pay better when you're in the submarine service. He worked as a dishwasher, line cook, fence builder, baker. But before he started in real estate, he and his wife moved to Detroit in 2007. At the bottom, like when things were beginning to tank, he moves into the changing world of Detroit, Michigan, and to take advantage of what he believes is still the greatest real estate opportunity of his generation. He's flipped, wholetailed, wholesaled, rented, land contracted, turnkey rental, and listed and sold over 600 deals. Okay, folks, listen to this next part because this is key, and I'm going to comment to this. He's lost everything twice and is still setting things right from the last failure. Okay, that is why I love to have Jeremy and guys like Jeremy on my show, because don't take any advice from someone that has never lived through a cycle. When you ask somebody how much experience they've got, hey, have you lived through a cycle? And if they say no, if you haven't seen the bad side of real estate, you haven't learned how to do this business yet. So the fact that Jeremy is open and honest with us about his losing everything twice, we've all been there. If you're in the real estate business, you've been there. So, but I have to tell you, one of the reasons why he started Renegade Detroit Investors in 2008, which is now the largest real estate investor meeting in Detroit. And he also runs his own team at KW Renegade Realty Group, covering all of Southeast Michigan, working on all 6 counties. He wants to crush everything. Now, the reason why he's on my podcast, because he likes to be introduced as a podcaster, a professional real estate investor, an urban farmer, which we're about to see in a moment, a curmudgeon, which means he's going to be welcome on this group, and a skeptic, and I'm a naysayer. Don't trust anybody. Be a skeptic. Read the contract. And he's an agent at Renegade Realty Group. So welcome, Jeremy, to my podcast.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. It's good to have guys like you on. And let me tell you, so where are you right now? Where in Michigan?
Well, right now I'm in Detroit. I'm in Northwest Detroit in a little area called Old Redford, because 120 years ago it was part of Redford and it was incorporated in the city of Detroit. And I am sitting in my backyard because I didn't realize we were going to be doing video today. Oh. So I have my war room in my garage, but it looks like shit because my dog tore up a ton of stuff in there. So I'm like, all right, I'll do video in my backyard so you can see my black raspberries.
Yep, black raspberries.
My mulberry trees, wow. I got some Juneberry trees. So a little urban farming is something I enjoy.
Well,
looks better than my garage.
I'm going to have to show you what my son has put together, a whole little farm in my backyard for while he's home from college. He's done an amazing job.
That's awesome.
He works on a golf course. So he's out there building the whole, garden and everything. And then he comes up with these sprinkler heads. I'm like, well, what are you doing with those? He goes, well, I'm going to put a sprinkler, tap into the underground sprinkler system in my yard so that he can water his garden. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're going to tap into that? He goes, yeah.
Smart kid.
Can you amazing. Kid's amazing. So
Yeah.
it's been great. All right, let's talk now. The reason why I'm planning my trip out to Detroit to do a one-day session out there, and you and I connected through my good friend, another member of the who's already been on the podcast, Doug Benson, who is a phenomenal multifamily investor up there in the Michigan area. And so, it turns out you yourself have quite a podcast going out there in Michigan. Tell me about your podcast.
Yeah, so it's the Renegade Detroit Investors podcast. And I started it when I started as a wholesaler after about a year when I discovered podcasts. And the guy I was learning from, Steve Londo, he taught me almost everything that I know. I was coming back from nothing, and I had a part of the way I learn is I teach too. So I go out, I do, and I repeat. And after I've done it a couple hundred times, part of how I cement it in my head is I teach it. And I was like, well, why don't I put this on the internet as kind of like like when you're an apprentice, a way of giving back. And I was so interested in the podcast format, and there was such a low barrier to entry. I was like, why not just record it and put it on the internet? It's kind of like the printing press or whatever, this is now just put it on the internet. So I did. And I started with just a regular 6-part series, and it kind of went from there. It started very slowly, but I enjoyed doing it so much. And then other people enjoyed doing it with me. And, fast forward 4 years later, and here I am. It's still something very enjoyable that I do.
This is the first time that my podcast has ever been compared to the Gutenberg Bible. I appreciate that. But the thing is, we're
in the very beginning of this. This is as radical as the printing press. As radical as translating the Bible into English. Who knows what this is going to do to the world,
Well, I came kicking and screaming to the podcast world. I never thought I would do it, but because as I tell people, I didn't think the internet was going to catch on. And so when I finally realized that I better jump on this bandwagon, now I'm like, I wish this was my only thing I ever had to do was just do these podcasts. They are an absolute blast. I have so much fun with them. They're the best. So, and I tell you, the people that I've met so far on my podcast have been fantastic. I mean, I really, listen, literally, I mean, why else but for this would you and I be speaking? And, I can't wait to find out about, how you run your business.
I think this just eliminates more barriers, and something about it being in your ear makes it more intimate too. It feels like you and I are right here having a conversation. And if you're listening, it feels like you're in the room having a conversation. I think that's the part I enjoy so much about it.
It does break down barriers. I used to never trust people with beards, and now that I have you on my podcast, I'm finding you're really a pretty good guy.
I'm not bad, depending on the day you catch me.
Exactly. So, give me an idea. Now, give me a day in the life of Jeremy Burgess. Like as far as what deals are you working on right now? What's your system for running your business?
All right. So I have several things I do. One is I have a listing business for business to business. I work almost exclusively for other investors and, believe it or not, other real estate agents listing and selling their property. That part isn't as exciting. That's just a bunch of comps. I do get pretty involved in the rehab and the ARV and the deal way before it even hits the market. But the more exciting part of what we do is on the buy side on my team. So first thing we do every morning is we scour all the off-market wholesale deals, everything we get our hands on. We're on hundreds of lists. We have great relationships. I used to work for some of the best wholesalers. I used to wholesale full-time. So we just use these wholesalers like an MLS for my investors. We look at all the deals. The ones I think are deals, we put them in front of our investors. We schedule appointments. We write offers on them. So it's a lot of calling. It's a lot of emailing. It's a lot of getting in the car, driving out, a lot of rehab lists, a lot of ARVs, a lot of phone calls. So it's kind of like hunting. You know, you're searching for deals all the time for your buyers. And every buyer has a different exit strategy. So that's fun too. Some people are going with the Airbnb strategy. Some people are looking for duplexes and rentals. Some people are looking for flips in Detroit and outside Detroit. So it's varied and it's difficult, like mining, but also very fun because you usually catch something, not every day, but you have that kind of discipline of prospecting like that for 2 or 3 hours every day. It pays off. So
would you agree that the real estate business is nothing more than a sales and marketing business?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like being more active too. So I'd always be marketing, right?
Yeah.
But prospecting is the active art of not waiting for the deal to come to you, reaching out. Like yesterday, I got a flip opportunity for a deal that I missed somehow. And I just reached out multiple times, letting them know, hey, if the deal falls through, reach out to me first. And that's what happened, unfortunately. And but that's the kind of stuff that we do, Renegade Realty Group, every day. And then, of course, with all the weird investor stuff, we got to do some, you know, less pleasant stuff, clear title, you know, right. What is a good way to say this? Because definitely a gray area, but bring down the might of all my intimidation to get things done and the way you want it to be done. You know how that goes, especially on the wholesale side, and a lot of times with some of these cities.
You know,
it's fun. A lot of clearing title, a lot of door knocking, a lot of chasing people down, you know.
It is. Most successful people on the multifamily side are those people that come from a sales and marketing background, because they realize that you can't just sit around and wait for things to come to you. You've got to go out and get it. I mean, and that is one of the things that we teach at MFIA is, you know, I put up when I'm doing an action plan for one of my students, I show them, okay, here is your market on LoopNet. And here is your market on Anodo. So on LoopNet, there are 7 properties for sale in your market right now on LoopNet. You can have a conversation with every broker on those 7 properties and then have lunch, and you're done for the week. But look at Anodo, which lists all the multifamily properties in that particular marketplace. Every gray dot on Anodo represents an opportunity, every single one of them, but you have to go directly to the owner. So are you going to sit around and wait for the broker to bring it to you, or are you going to go after every gray dot and ask that person to sell you their property? And it's just a sales and marketing business. It's you know, and the people that don't realize that are the people that get out way too soon.
Well, one of the greatest things I learned wholesaling, Steve Londo taught me, and it was a habit, a discipline of 3 hours of prospecting every day. Because wholesaling, if you don't hunt today, you don't eat tomorrow. It's very different than the realtor or real estate agent side of the business. So doing that for years, I created a discipline of prospecting every single day, which is literally one of the greatest things. Now I'm an agent doing different things mostly than wholesaling, and it still helps me. That discipline helps me to this day to generate leads, find new people to do business with, doing it every single day.
You know, when I was in the insurance business, you know, 20, 30 years ago, they said that prospecting is like shaving. You got to do it every day or you're going to end up looking like a bum.
I compare it to working out a lot of times. How hard are you working out? That's going to be the health of your business, man. You putting in 2 or 3 hours in the gym every day, give that a couple of years. Yeah, your business is going to look hot, you know.
Yep.
You're putting in 30, 40 minutes a week, which is what most people are doing. Well, yeah, you got the dad bod, you know. Which is what I got, but whatever.
Steve, I'm
disciplined in my business. I need to be more disciplined in my physical health. That's for
Jeremy,
sure.
you totally walked over my punchline about the prospecting. It's like you got to shave every day, otherwise you'll look like a bum. And there you are. I'm like, but no offense
Too
to
late.
you. It looks good on you now. Really, it does. No offense. And then that's funny because when I was learning how to sell insurance, the rule in our office was 2 hours or 2 appointments. That's if you make the first 2 phone calls and you made 2 appointments, you're done for the day. If you make 0 appointments, you gotta put in 2 hours of prospecting at a minimum just to be a success.
Yeah.
So that's
that's great advice.
Yeah,
great advice.
I mean, you're doing it yourself. So, man, you know, you talk about all the crap like clearing title and all the other stuff. what I teach my students is you must always remain in control of the deal. And that's kind of like what you're doing. And as a wholesaler, you kind of have to remain in control of the deal, keeping all the sides together, or you're not going to get paid.
Man, being a wholesaler in Detroit was like gladiator school for real estate. It was so brutal. But man, you want to talk about, they will set you right if you're willing and you're open to the evidence and learning from your mistakes. The good thing about Detroit is iron sharpens iron. So yeah, I learned very fast. The worst place to be is between me and a paycheck. Detroit does not make you soft to make you nice. When I lock up a deal, that thing is going to close. And a lot of times, yeah, there's a lot of drama involved in that. And you have to be just relentless a lot of times to get these things closed. It's too easy to quit. Just walk away.
Yeah.
And these leads are too hard to come by. So when I get one, I learned this from my wholesaler days, I'm pretty slow to let it go. It's an almost never.
Yeah.
You know, now I kind of set some limits where if I'm not going to make at least 5,000, and if it's too much of a hassle, I won't go to the ends of the earth like I used to. But yeah, part of it is you do have to be relentless with this stuff.
You know, that's interesting. I was going to ask, now that you just said something that reminded me of two questions I have for you. First off, you mentioned in your bio that you're working like all the 6 southeastern counties. That's a big area.
Yeah.
I mean, so are you really being a road warrior? Are you out there driving all 6 counties looking at anything? Or like you just mentioned, have you become more selective, as you've grown?
Well, I am more selective, but I hate to limit my options, and I am, for better or worse, a workaholic. I love this. I don't want to do anything else. I like farming, I like barbecuing, and I like hunting for deals and selling shit for as much as I could possibly sell it for. And I'm pretty unapologetic about it. It's what I like doing. So yeah, half my day is usually on the road. Today, I designed the day because I'm so far behind on my fucking email. People are going to send somebody out to murder me because I've been on the road doing deals, right? Same with Jay, my buyer's agent. If you're doing this stuff like aggressively, you're going to spend half your day in your car. I mean, it's just no way around it. I do as much. I try and set really good appointments. I don't go on too many bad appointments. But the reason I use 6 counties is, as picky as we are and the kind of deals we're looking for, we want a big pool, right? Now, that being said, the vast majority of what I do is in Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb County. So that's like 80% of my business. I'm expanding into the other counties. That's slower going, but there's also, it's not as concentrated. It's less dense, so there's not as many opportunities. So the vast majority of what I do is right here in Southeast Michigan, but we do go further out because there's opportunities out there, and I hate to say no,
Yeah. Okay, you got to bring me up to speed because I actually, my wife is from the Michigan area. We've owned apartments, apartment complexes. We have 4 properties in the Michigan area that 2 of them are under contract right now. But talk to me about Detroit. What's going on there? I mean, is it having that rebirth? Is it going to happen over the 30-year period? Is it going to happen over a 10-year period? I mean, I remember listening to stories where, houses were going for sale in Detroit for $1 and they weren't selling.
Yeah.
What's going on? Talk to me.
Well, in Detroit, the problem has always been political, and it's not 100% solved by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, I can't believe how much it has turned around, especially downtown. A lot of that's due to Dan Gilbert. Love him or hate him, he came in with a lot of money. He bought a lot of skyscrapers. When he was buying skyscrapers in Detroit, there were 55 vacant skyscrapers, and I believe he bought a third of them. He might have bought half of them. He's obviously not advertising everything he is purchasing.
He's nothing.
Right. So he kind of controlled downtown. He hired private security force. He started moving his businesses into downtown, and he kind of jump-started downtown. Once you get out of downtown, it's a lot slower. But in certain neighborhoods and places, we've seen rapid appreciation, and home values come back dramatically over the last, specifically 4 years, but really last 6 years. It started slow, and then it was kind of like knocking something loose. Just all came pouring out. It's been crazy. And then, of course, There's still lots of parts of the city where there's lots of opportunity, but who knows how long. I like to say Detroit is one election away from turning this whole thing around. When? Who knows? We have the system's designed to have a weak mayor. So whether you love or hate our mayor, he's not really in charge as much as we would like. It relies on the Detroit City Council, which is pretty weak and full of commies still, frankly. So that's what we're waiting on. One good vote. The second that happens, so much cheap, affordable housing. We get kids learn how to read. They start solving murders, and this city and anybody who invested in it beforehand is just going to blow up, right? It's always a matter of when, though. And as I have a hate-love relationship with Detroit. I love Detroit. It has made me everything that I am and given me every opportunity that I've had. I don't know how a street guy like me gets these opportunities where you can come and make money out of nothing in this place. But she does have a tendency. There's 99 right ways to do it and one wrong way. 9 times out of 10, Detroit will pick the one wrong way, which is kind of disappointing. So I'm still very skeptical, but I think long term, it can't not be solved, right? And it doesn't have to be solved
overnight
to a super high standard. It could be like Chicago or New York, not perfect, but even that level would dramatically increase values, bring way more people back in. And we kind of have two things happening. We have people moving out of the bad areas of the city into the suburbs, and we have people in the suburbs moving into the good areas or the new and upcoming areas in Detroit. So we have an interesting mix of things going on. I'm relatively optimistic about it in general, despite my skepticism, but I'm also very patient. I've been here a long time already, and I saw how far it's going to come. It's probably going to be at least another 10 years, if not longer, but I'm a patient man, and I'm not going anywhere. So it's good for me.
So his name is Jeremy Burgess, the fellow libertarian here with me, talking about Detroit and the politics of Detroit. But Jeremy, you live within the confines of Detroit. So you are,
yes,
you're
sir.
not in the suburbs.
Yes.
You are in the, tell me about your neighborhood. I mean, is it describe your neighborhood to me.
Well, I live in a bad neighborhood.
Oh, okay. Well, there.
I did not buy my house with the intention of buying a house in a bad neighborhood. My second business, I partnered with a nonprofit. I won't get into it too much. I got 6.5 hours of that story on my podcast, but I was basically an idiot and got duped by a shitty, corrupt nonprofit, right? So the reason I bought my house where I was at was it was close to the founder of this nonprofit and the office where I leased space from. That being said, this part of Old Redford has improved dramatically. And the reason I have stayed where I'm at is I have 2 excellent neighbors, one of which over the last 11, 12 years has become my best friend. And I think Detroit, when you have those kind of neighbors looking out for you, it's a different experience. So even though it's maybe not the greatest neighborhood, and I wouldn't have probably picked it again, it actually kind of worked out for me in a strange way. I got lucky. I made a new friend. We get along real great. We barbecue together all the time. He looks after me. I look after him. So in a strange way, despite kind of everything going to shit and not working out and stuck in a neighborhood you wouldn't kind of pick, it worked out actually pretty great, and we have a pretty awesome situation. I could farm anywhere I want. Nobody cares. I have too many dogs because I love dogs. Nobody cares. So it's kind of like a farm in a city on a big-ass lot, and I have some good neighbors who look out for me, and it's actually kind of worked out. I have a remarkable amount of freedom compared to most people who are used to suburb living,
That is so cool. I have a friend like that. We're so close that we actually named each other as guardian, so our spouses can't have us committed. Only he and I can. That's it.
That's awesome.
Now, let me ask you this. Hold on. So you've got this area in Detroit that is worked out for you. Where do you buy and hold your properties? What's your strategy or are you just wholesaling, or what's the long-term strategy for your
Well,
investment?
for me right now, I'm still in pay people back mode. So when I crashed my second business, I mean, it was spectacular by Detroit standards, a couple $1 million, which in Detroit is a shit ton of money, and it's not that much money anywhere else. But a couple $1 million in Detroit, especially at the time in 2012 and 13 when I crashed that thing, was pretty spectacular. And I still owe a significant amount of money. So what I focus on are flipping, wholesaling, and my listing business, because I'm trying to generate as much cash as I can, as fast as I can, to pay these people back and still be able to grow my business in the way that I want to. I'm an aggressive, ambitious guy. I could take forever to pay this stuff back, or I could just suffer for 7 or 8 years, get it done, and then be in a position. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I figure I have another 2 or 3 years that everybody should be paid back. And then my plan at that point, once everybody's paid back, the business should be at the point where I can immediately jump into apartment and self-storage. So that is the direction I will be heading. I'm a shitty landlord. I realize that now. I need more units in one spot, you know?
Yeah.
And I need stuff I could do that don't require people too, like self-storage. So know thyself, you know? I'm not a great manager of things. So I'm going to change my strategy. Once I get all these people right and paid off, I'm going to change my strategy to take that into account. So apartments and self-storage. So I'm looking for flips most of the time, wholesale deals, listing, and buyers. And that's been relatively successful for me. It's a grind.
Yeah.
You know, it's an active job, but it's getting me to my goals a lot faster this way, you know. So that's a lot of money I killed, you know.
Jeremy, don't not look for multifamily deals, because I'll tell you, I've got students right in your backyard that are looking for apartments that are distressed, that they'll get in there.
Oh, I'm looking for them.
Oh yeah,
I'm looking for them.
Listen,
this market is so competitive. This is why I love Southeast Michigan too. These people are savage, man. There's so much competition here, but there's so much opportunity too. And I love these guys and gals who are out there doing it. I'm looking for them, but man, there's some heavy competition looking for these things.
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere there is.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, because you touched upon something that was the bane of my existence, probably my downfall at one point, and that was bad partners. And
yes.
Okay, all right. Let's, as Connie Chung said once, let's just talk us girls here, okay? You know, when I talk to my students and they're talking about partnering with people, I said, listen, you've got to ask the right questions. You know, you've got to make sure that you know who this person is. Why? First question you have to answer is, why do you need a partner? And,
yes.
You know,
almost nobody needs a partner.
Okay, exactly. Okay, okay, that's a great point. And let me confirm what you're saying by saying that everything that you feel you lack, that you think you need a partner to come in and fill the gaps for, you can hire somebody to do.
You can hire it out.
Exactly.
You could even become an apprentice. If that's what I did. After I killed my second business, I had to have a come to Jesus moment and realize I don't know how to run a business. I know a shit ton about real estate. I know values. I know flipping. I know that part, but that is not the same as managing a business and a payroll. So I went and became an apprentice with 2 different people for 5 years and learned how to run a business. I worked for them. Well, I wasn't their partner, but I still got what I needed. Yeah. And now I hire out all the stuff I suck at. Like, for instance, I have a transaction coordinator that is awesome. I am bad at managing. I got 27 pending deals right now. I can't do that on my best day of my life alone.
Yep.
It's just not possible. It's not in my wheelhouse. Kelly's the exact opposite of me on paperwork. She just eats that shit up all the time. You can hire someone like Kelly if you suck at it. If you're good at paperwork, you can hire wholesalers or hire marketing teams to do leads for you. You can hire people to cold call for you, cost you money. Point being is, a partner is like getting married. I'm not necessarily against it completely, but that's the kind of seriousness you need. And I did not approach it that way, to my everlasting regret. I learned a lesson.
Yep.
Now, you're far more capable than you think you are. And really, it's an insecurity that makes you feel like you can't do it alone.
Lack of confidence, insecurities. You're absolutely right. I mean, I just interviewed Mitch Stephen, and he was saying the same thing. He was talking about how he hires people, and one of the things that he says, for the longest time I was hiring people out of RIA clubs, out of real estate clubs, because those are the worst places to find people. Now I interview people, and here's the questions that I ask them. And the thing that he's looking for, and I knew where he was going, and he eventually got there. He said, I look for people that don't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. They just want to come to work every day.
That's most people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're unique.
They love you for it.
We're unique, Jeremy. Yeah, it's crazy.
We got to worry about waking up and writing the check every month and paying our, they just want to do the work and get the paycheck. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. So, listen.
Well, let me clear it up too. I do partner on a deal by deal basis. I don't partner in my business. I do just want to make that the distinction there. I'm in my business, but my business will partner with other people on individual deals. Yeah. That way we're as honest as that deal.
That's the beautiful thing about real estate investing is a partnership only needs to be one deal long.
Yeah.
And then you move on. How'd it work out? No, it didn't work out. Okay, we're on to the next one. And I'll tell you something, Jeremy. I know you keep talking about how it's, very, tough, tough existence out there. I was in the worst business in the world. I was in the insurance business for years. It is a backstabbing, cutthroat, conniving business. People will say anything they want about you. I love the real estate business because, listen, I mean, you and I could be partners in a deal. You and I could buy a deal from you. You could buy a deal from me. We could partner in a deal. We could, there's so many ways that we can work together on deals that there's no need to be backstabbing in this business. We'll all just figure it out and work together. And that's what I love about I keep saying multifamily, but in the broader scope, the real estate business. So.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's not a zero-sum game. And if you're playing it like it's a zero-sum game, you're doing it wrong way.
Yeah.
It's too hard to go find new people all the time to do business with. You need to find people you could do business with all the time. That means you have to benefit all the time. And those are the relationships and partnerships that last forever. And then you know what? You don't need a contract or need to be partners in a business either, because you like, know, and trust each other. And you just keep doing the same thing with the same people over and over again. We have no contracts. There's no reason to, because we all like, know, and trust each other. So.
Yeah. And like you said, zero-sum game. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not like Warren Buffett went out and became a billionaire by taking billions of dollars out of other people's money. He created value. And that's what we do. And we just find a way to create value in this business because there's so much value to be had. It's beautiful.
I want everybody to make more money than me on every deal that I do. That is my goal. Because if I know I could do that every time, I'm never going to have a problem doing it. I approach it that way. I'm looking for opportunities to increase somebody else's return because I know that means we're going to do business more and forever. And that's way easier than going and finding new people.
That's like one of my best students. They said, how do you pitch to investors, or how do you tell people what you do? He goes, very simple. I make millionaires multi. And they just leave it.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
It's perfect. So, all right. Hey, Jeremy, when we come back, we're going to play our game, the multifamily game. Oh, yeah? Well, what about that?
Right.
All right. Are you ready for it?
Right. I'm ready.
All right. Hold on. We'll be right back after these words from this sponsor. Okay, Jeremy, we are back. Are you ready?
I'm ready, sir. Let's do it.
The way that we play this game is you are going to tell me a story, that we're going to make my blood boil, make my toes curl, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's your choice. And then I'm going to see if I can top it. So go ahead, Jeremy. The stage is yours.
All right. I think my most interesting stories are my bad sellers or clearing title stories. So I'm going to start with one of those.
Okay.
I had a seller with one of my long-term friends, Tommy, where we signed a purchase and sale agreement on a pretty good deal. I'm assigning it to my friend Tommy. The next day, the seller calls me and said, hey, my neighbor across the street is willing to pay more, which I'm like, I don't care. We have a signed purchase and sale agreement, right? He's like, well, hey, man, I don't care about that. If you're not going to pay more than him. And this man was a pastor. I won't say at what church, but a pastor at a church in Detroit. So I let him know, hey, I'm going to go file a claim of interest. Then I'm going to text it to you. If that doesn't work, I'm going to mail everybody on your street certified mail with a purchase and sale agreement and a copy of the notice of interest. That way they know there's a lien on it, and they'll know you also don't honor your agreement. If that doesn't work, I'm going to show up to your church on Sunday and let everybody else know. He called me back. I have this voicemail still, and he cast out the demons in my voicemail. Anyway, filed the claim of interest, sent out the letters. Everybody
so
got the letters.
Obviously, the casting didn't work because then you went right down to the registry.
Yep. Yep. I gave him a week, went down, sent out the letters. 3 days after I sent out the letters, got the call back. I am so sorry, Jeremy. I don't know what happened to me. Can we still close this deal? Yes, sir. We still can't close this deal. Closed a week later. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Didn't have to embarrass him in his church.
In his church. So, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it happens a lot on the wholesale side. Sellers trying to back out of your deal, you know.
Just
no, thank you.
People on the call, just understand, when you sign a purchase and sale contract, that's an interest in land. That you now own an asset, and you have the right to that asset. And the way you protect that asset is like what Jeremy just said. You know, how did you describe it? We call it registering going down the registry and recording it, which is essentially what you did. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same thing. In Michigan, they might call it something different. But that puts the world on notice that Jeremy has just clouded the title on this property. And this guy will never be able to sell it to his next door neighbor. So
no, not on a warranty deed anyway. And by the way, a little tip, always protect your interests. But a lot of times to get people to do what you want, they care more about their reputation. So that's usually where I push. I'm like, okay, I'll just share with everybody that you like to back out of your agreement. We'll see what everybody thinks of you. That usually solves the problem.
And I think we found out through the course of this podcast that no one's cast out your demons yet, Jeremy. I think they're all
No, good luck. I'm still working on that myself. I'm gonna have to try a lot harder. Yeah.
All right,
you gotta wake up pretty early in the morning, you know.
Okay. Well, what about this? And here's my story it's actually a Michigan property that I was about to close on, and it was one of the first deals I'd ever done, and the bank. No, we don't need a survey. No, we're not going to need a survey, even though the purchase and sale contract said, yeah. And then 2 days before we're about to close, the bank comes back and says, "Hey, we're going to need a survey on the property." I'm like, "Where have you been? We've been in a contract for 60 days, and just now you're telling me you want a survey?" "Yeah, but we're not going to close until we get it done." So get on the phone, start scrambling, trying to find a surveyor. So what happens is you find, who did the last survey. Hey, can you do an updated survey in 2 days? And they do. But this time they find out that they did it wrong the first time, and that part of my parking lot, or soon to be my parking lot, is on the neighbor's property.
Oof.
Yeah. Well, now it's the seller's problem, but not really. My money's hard. And we got to solve this problem, but the bank is not going to close until we get that solved. Fortunately, the seller was able to go and I don't know what he did, but he got it all cleared up and bought a fee simple interest in a strip of parking lot, and we closed. I think a week late, but we closed. So that guy was anxious for his money. That's for damn sure. So.
Oh yeah, your money was hard too. So yeah, you're in a bad spot, right? You're like, oh man.
But let me tell you something. That's why I teach my students always remain in control of the deal. At that point, when the bank came back and said, you need a survey, and they found out that the land, the property was on the other guy's land, I lost control of the deal. The seller could have screwed me over. He could have said, hey, sorry, that's your bank's problem. And, we're going to close on this day. If you're not there, I'm keeping the money. And he could have done it. So can you top that, Jeremy?
I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. So
Okay,
when I quit wholesaling full time and I went full time into being a real estate agent, nobody had a reason to hire me. I didn't know anything about being a real estate agent. I didn't have any business. I just came for being a wholesaler all the time, right? So I get this one crummy fucking opportunity. It's a shitty house in shitty condition in East English Village in Detroit, and it's not even with a good seller. He doesn't listen, right? But this is my only opportunity, right? What else better do I have to do? So I go and list this thing. I fight for 3 weeks. Anyway, we go back and forth. I finally sell this thing. This thing's ugly, but I finally got it. I got a damn good price, too. I can't believe they're paying this price. We get ready to go to closing. There's so much deed fraud in Detroit. What somebody had done, which I was prepared for, is file a false claim of interest. There's a ton of deed fraud. And the game is, I'll cloud your title, but you'll give me money, and I will uncloud your title. I've had to do this several times. It's a nasty business, right? So we find this. I skip trace the guy, and this is what I'm trying to do. I know the game. I can't find this fucking guy. I can't find this guy anywhere. I'm calling his last known relatives. Now I'm hanging out at what's supposed to be his mailbox, right? I'm knocking on his last known. I have nothing else better to do, and I can't close this deal unless I can clear this title. Then I realized, wait a second. I go back to the notary. I skip trace the notary, and I start ruining that bitch's fucking life, right? By the way, you notarize a deed. If I can't get him, I'll take you any day of the week, twice on Sunday, but I don't want you. I want him. Anyway, long story short, what I finally was able to do, I created such a stink that the Wayne County prosecutor reached out to me, and it's kind of a funny story. I thought they were playing me. I'm like, yeah, right, you're the Wayne County prosecutor. Shut the fuck up. Yeah. What I need is I need this guy so I can close this deal, and I'm ruining somebody. And she got shitty with me. She's like, fine, go to the website and call in and ask for my name. So I did that, and I was like, oops, sorry, lady, sorry, I'm a little on edge. I'm getting screwed on this deal. Turns out they had this guy in custody for multiple other deed frauds. So because I created such a huge stink and ruined so many people's lives over like 3 or 4 weeks, it went up to them. They were unaware of this one. So we presented evidence for them. And then in exchange, I got a deed in lieu, a fraud or something like that, a fraudulent deed or whatever. And I was able to close my deal. So that one, I made like $235 after my split too. So, but I didn't have another damn thing to do. And for my clearing title in wholesale day, I like, well, okay, let's do this. This is the money I have. Let's go get it.
Wow. Well, now hold on. Let's before we hang up, before we call it a day here, you got out of the Navy, and then you moved to Detroit. Like you essentially, when you moved to Detroit, were you moving there for a job, or did you burn the ships? And I
burned the ships.
You burned the ships. Good, bravo.
I showed up. I did 13 deals before I came to Detroit. I showed up to Detroit with a ton of flips going on, no fucking money, a 22-foot U-Haul trailer, and 4 cats and my wife.
And your wife.
And we showed up May 2007, and the market crashed July 2007. I was broke by August 2007, which I got to say, fast is better. It's like getting hit by a car. You just got to get back up. And the second time it was slow. And I just got smashed. It's like a bull running into you. You're all fucked up on the ground. Like, but I had to get back up and get started right away. So I came at the absolute worst time. I had all my money in flips. And in August 2007, they went from being worth $120. By December, they were worth $10,000. So, I mean, I just got gutted and killed and murdered right on the street. So it was the absolute worst time. But I was still right. This is the greatest opportunity of our generation, I believe. So I was just early. I was just way early.
2 months too early.
2 more years later. Yeah. And so that's all. And I learned fast too. Detroit is, will teach you very quickly if you pay attention.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. His name is Jeremy Burgess, Renegade Detroit. He has a podcast. Make sure you look him up. What's the name of your podcast, Jeremy?
Hey, it's a Renegade Detroit Investors podcast. Check it out. I should be everywhere.
It should be everywhere, just like me, because we are podcasters
Yep.
now. We're hip and cool.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, we're everywhere. So great to have you on the show. It's been a pleasure. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to meet you face to face when I'm out there in Detroit. And hey, I'll be on your show. You want me to come on your show? I'll be on your show. You know?
That's right. I want you to come on my show. So anybody listening, he's going to come on mine. We do it face to face. You sit down, talk for a couple of hours. It's going to be awesome.
Exactly.
And we're going to do it before your event. That way people know about you before your event, and everybody in Metro Detroit should. I think it's going to be fun, and I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be a blast. Now, wait a minute. You said we sit down face to face for a couple hours, like Joe Rogan type of thing? Like it's going to be that type?
That's how I do it. Yep. I don't do it like this. I do it face to face. We get to talk, bust out some beers.
All right, man. Jeremy, great to talk with you. Have a great day. Look forward to speaking with you face to face.
That's right. Absolutely. I really appreciate you, Charles. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm looking forward
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.